If I go for love. Samantha. Hello. Today's video is going to be a reading vlog where I try to complete this book. I'm already at what, page 250 in what? How many pages? In 390 pages. So I'm in page 250, and I started it after like uploading the my previous video, just this recently uploaded video. Funnily enough, yeah, I think it's interesting that my interest for this book spiked out of the blue, considering the themes of this book. Now, this book is named Daughter, and it's centered around a family losing their daughter, a family losing their only like girl. They have the family is the Malcolm family. They have two sons and one girl. She's the last born. Their father is a neurosurgeon and the mother is a doctor. I think she's a pediatrician. Yeah. Like they seem like, and it's set in the UK. Yeah. So like in my head, these people do this thing where if you're reading a book set in like maybe in the UK or America, like people assume those accents for the characters, speaking. I don't know, it's something I do, but it's not so conscious. I just in my head, yeah, there's some phrases I'll stumble and I'll be like, oh, this is what it sounds like in a British accent, whatever. That's just like a funny thing. But before I start to like go into the plot and all of that, because it's a mystery. I mentioned the theme because it's somewhat similar to the Liar's Diary. Yes, like why? Why did I pick this book? I didn't buy them the same day. I bought this book separately on like the most. I was going to the market. That other run would have had that book run that had Liar's Diary was like months back, and then I was going to the market like very recently. I think I posted it on my Instagram too. And then I just bought like three books, and this was one of the books I bought, Daughter. So as you can see, I look very fresh. But like I woke up this morning just feeling very I woke up I'm diverted again, yeah. I woke up this morning feeling very like chilled and all of that, and I was like, I don't want to like jump into the shower so quickly. And I'm very hungry. I'm more hungry for food than taking my bath. So I went to eat and I've had like two servings of rice and beans. Rice and beans is one chicken. I'm living in rural Lagos, so there's a lot of noise. You hear church noise, you hear noise makers, like me just screaming in the street, like these guys. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm going to get a mic soon, and I hope my sound quality will be better. I've jump over that place. So, anyways, what was I saying? I bought the book on a different run, but the themes to Liar's Diary is it's not entirely similar, but it's somewhat similar. In this case, I don't think there's so much of a mental block on the mother. I think the mother is just unaware of something going on with the daughter. Like she just is not aware of the daughter because she's a doctor, a practicing pediatrician, and she's always on call. She runs a little clinic in the country, like near their home, but like she's very inaccessible to her children. It's been told from the mother's point of view. So she's the narrator. Guys, what is all this? To her daughter going missing is random. Yeah, it's out of the blue. She could have never seen it coming. She knows her daughter, she knows her kid. Yeah, and throughout the narration it seems like she and the girl, okay, let's call the daughter's name is Naomi. So Naomi and the mother's name is Jenny felt like she and Naomi had the closest relationship of all her kids. Like Naomi told her everything. Naomi tells her everything. Naomi is doesn't keep secrets. She's a lovely baby girl. Like, why would she keep secrets? She's safe with her. But like Naomi is a 15-year-old, teenager, and it seemed like they had this wall between them, which the mother Jenny acknowledges throughout the narration. Well, things that have happened so far here is that Naomi was participating in a school play, and she was the lead actress. After school, she wouldn't come home directly, or sometimes she would come home, pick up like maybe a fruit, play with the dog, and go back to practice rehearsals. Yeah, and Naomi had this friend Nikita. So like every time the mother was, curious in a way that parents think they are curious, but they are not really. They're just willing to see what you show them. Yeah, because they don't have the time sometimes they don't want to make the effort. Most times they really don't have time to like poke into your life deeply and see what is going on with you. So like she will be like, "Oh, Naomi, where are you going to now?" She'll say, "I'm going to rehearsals." Say then sometimes Naomi will be like, "I'll be late," and she's like, "Late? Like you have a coffee around like 10," and Naomi will be like, "Don't worry, I'll be with Nikita." So like Nikita was her go-to day for all the excuses she gave, because the mother knew, Jenny knew Nikita's mom, Shan, and it was just that kind of, to her it was comfy. But the little thing she noticed that she could not get any answer from direct answer from Naomi. She would notice maybe the smell of alcohol in her jacket. She would notice the stale smell of tobacco, and she wouldn't even question, because she would feel like, oh no, Naomi and I are close. Naomi will come to me, or like if I question Naomi about what she's smoking or why she's smoking, Naomi will be closed up for me. And it's like Naomi is already closed up from you. But like it's really horrid, because the way the author like phrases the story here is that we the readers will see a year after the disappearance, you get, and then because the narration is coming from the mother's POV, she will talk about her life a year after the disappearance, and then she would remember like the way it started 20 days before the disappearance, 15 days before the disappearance, 6 days before the disappearance, just to give us the readers a clue, into the mysteries of this small suburban family, you get. And it was mysterious because when I first picked up this book to read, I was frustrated because there were just so many things that were brewing, that felt like they were brewing under the surface. And it was irritating, it was frustrating. I was like, no, I can't do this, I can't do this. So I dropped it and I read some other books, and then I picked it up again. So hopefully in this reading vlog I can finish it. So far what we know is that Naomi disappeared a day after her play was, like, what do you call this, released. After she performed the play, she had been rehearsing for weeks, like she didn't come home the night. She said she told her parents she was going for a party, you understand. She was going for, like, after set party that everybody would. That's how she told her parents, and they like let her be. But like 2 a.m. she had not yet come home, and the mother was like biting her nails. Everybody, her brothers had gone to sleep, and then she was waiting for her husband to come home, because her husband works late hours, a neurosurgeon, and is a big deal and all that. Hoping that Naomi would get home before the husband, but then Naomi didn't get home. Her husband came home, and then she knew that, oh, something was really really wrong. Scared, she went to visit Shan, that is Nikita's mom. Nikita's mom told her that, I don't know what you're talking about. There was no party. Nikita is at home. Like, you get, like, who told you about party? And like, Naomi told me. Nikita comes downstairs and she's like, well, the truth is that Naomi has a boyfriend, and he's an older guy, and that's all she knows. She doesn't know the guy's name. She doesn't know anything about the guy. Naomi just told her that, blah blah blah. So now the parents go home. They are like vibrating with fear, urgency, tension. They are so scared. They go back home, and they decide they have to call the police, but they have to wait till morning. So like no sleep, nothing. They call the police. The police come around. Then they start to question the whole neighborhood. The question her schoolmates, the question the staff at school. At first, the mother doesn't want her sons to panic about it, and it's like, I'm just there, like, we're reading from the mother's point of view, because in situations like this, you can't help but be pissed off at the mother, like, because of the way she sees the world. It feels as if you, the reader, the dangers that are already ever present for any teenage girl in any society, in any home, anywhere, and it's like, why can't you see it, and there are some moments in the book where somebody will try to confront Jenny, like the police, yes, will try to confront Jenny about, like, Naomi's possible secrets, like the boy she's seeing, and she'll be like, what do you mean, that's not her, like, I know Naomi, blah blah blah. But like, obviously as the investigation goes on, things are revealed. Reading the book is interesting in the sense like you get to see the timelines coming together. I mean, a year later, after the disappearance, and then 15 days before, 14 days before, 9 days before, 6 days before the disappearance, you get. So like the disappearance, like, it felt like as if it was the crux of when the timelines met, I would get some kind of clue. But like the timeline met and passed. The narration is going 1 day after the disappearance, 1 year after the disappearance, 2 days after the disappearance. At first I was irritated by this movement of the plot, but like now that I'm seeing like 1 day after and 1 year later, it is making me see that there are certain things we need to put in mind as readers, so that when the picture becomes clear about Naomi's disappearance, there would be a proper precedence in our minds of where this was coming from. I don't know how the picture has always been there, but like we could not see it. That's actually the feeling I'm getting from the story, that there is something that is clear, but we cannot see it because we are seeing it from not from the omniscience of the writer, but the narrow perspective, basically, because it's just one person's view, the person at the heart of the trouble, the mother of the child. It's not possible for her to see everything. She has to actually piece things together by herself. So something to note about Jenny also, that is that Jenny is a painter. She's very serious about painting, and there's a thing in their family, like since when they were small, which Ed calls her out on a year later, like a year after disappearance. He's like, oh, you do everything you want to do, you go to work, and then when you want to paint, nobody must interrupt you. Is that not what it is? Is that not what your life is like? And she's like, yes, but like it does not mean you cannot come to me. It's like, no, nobody could interrupt you when you are painting. You're so obsessed with your painting, continue painting, your daughter has gone, like, that kind of thing. So the way Ed is, he has this animosity towards his mom. We can guess like it's just like maybe teenage animosity of having a mother that is absent, you know but like it just also feels like there is something that Ed knows, and he says it as much that he's never going to tell Naomi's secrets to his parents, which is actually weird, because I don't know, it feels necessary for you to tell anything you know to the police, to resolve your sister's disappearance. But I feel like the secret Ed is holding on to would actually shatter the family. But like I wonder what's left to shatter, because at this point, a year after disappearance, Jenny and her husband Ted are separated. The night of her disappearance, he was supposed to pick Naomi up from the theater. But like that night, when the police checked his alibi of working late at the hospital, they found that he wasn't actually working late at the hospital. Somebody else had filled in for him. So like, where did you go, man? Jenny was distraught because like she didn't have the energy to focus on anything outside her daughter's disappearance. She was like, there's no way this man will do this. But she herself called the hospital, and they personally checked the records for her, and they saw that the husband was not there. So like when he came back, she asked him, where were you that night of Naomi's disappearance? First, his reaction was very like oppressive, like, oh, what do you mean, like, what are you trying to say? And then she was like, I called the hospital, you were not there. Then he now confessed that, oh, actually he spent the night with a lady called Beth. Jenny knows Beth. So like he said, it was just a one-time thing, didn't mean anything, which at that point, actually, like I said, Jen did not have the energy to be stressed about her husband cheating. She was just focused. So she was like, you know what, we'll just talk about it later. So like a year after disappearance, when Ed and Theo come to spend Christmas with their mother at the cottage, Ed roughly informs his mom that Ted is traveling around South Africa with the birth of the girl, like they are together now officially and all that, but like Ted has not informed her, so it was like a big shock to her. That happens when Ed and Theo come over with their partners for Christmas holiday. It's something that she was really looking forward to, because she has been by herself in that cottage for like a year, since herself and Ted had been separated. Anyway, life at the cottage in the countryside is kind of calm, but her days are filled with the different things she does to keep away the burning anguish of Naomi's disappearance. Michael is still in her life. Who is Michael? Michael was the officer attached to her case, from the police department specifically. I think he deals specifically with child disappearance cases. During the period where it was still fresh, I mean those days after the disappearance, Michael was a very consistent and solid presence in her life compared to her husband, and somehow he availed himself emotionally to her, like they had a kiss, but like they never talked about it after, because to her she chalked it up to just like a temporary slip in, I don't know, maybe emotions were running too high and all. But like a year later in the court, you see that both of them have made it into something, although he only comes late at night and all of that. Michael ended up divorced from his wife during this period of Naomi's case, and it was not because of the case actually, it was because his wife felt, just because of his job in general, he was never there for his wife. And some of them had left South Africa to move to the UK, and all of that backstory. They are divorced, and he lets Jenny knows then like the year later, and I think their relationship solidifies itself. They only meet at night, and none of them have, like, Jenny has not told anybody about her relationship. The only people she even has in her life are her two sons, and the husband she thought was still single and separated from her, but he has birth now, so that's no longer there. Where I'm at now is 8 days after disappearance and 13 months after disappearance. Where it's still a mystery to me is like nobody knows if Naomi is dead. Like obviously she's been kidnapped here. Nobody has heard anything about her, and the way the narration is going, the way the Jen is narrating it seems like she has it not under control. Like nobody in that situation can ever have anything under control, but she has a semblance of a routine in her, with her life in the cottage, and she's trying to like she's still holding on to hope. So I don't know anything about Naomi's disappearance either. So like I'm going to read the rest of the book in this vlog. So outfit change, and I grabbed my sour gummy, chupa chup sour gummies to munch on. My tumbler of really cold icy water because Lagos. I really like sour, I don't know, sweets, chips, anything sour. So there's a lot of narration I'm going to give to you and information because I'm on page 250 of 319. Yeah, so like I've gone far. Concerning the cottage area where Jenny stays, there's always noise in Lagos. Just a noisy country in general, but especially the state. So freaking noisy. What was I saying? Yeah. So the cottage where Jenny lives at is they were given to her by her mother as an inheritance. So what was Jenny's upbringing? What was it like? Yeah. Jenny, throughout the narration and throughout her storytelling, yeah, she comes off as an overachiever. And I feel like it sort of made her blind to her children's needs. She grew up with a mother that believed in a woman staying home and always taking care of her children, and a woman that like sexist beliefs about women. So Jenny grew up, rebelling against the ideology and wanting to prove it every step of the way. Unfortunately, she was married to a man like Ted. Ted, who is a well-established professional in his field, keeps on giving her these hints of how he has colleagues who have wives who just stay at home and take care of the kids. At some point he says things like, he even mentions it to her during the disappearance, that you could have just been around, you could have just been here and all that. Anyway, I just wanted to establish Jenny's background. She also has a sister named Kate. It was supposed to be hers and her husband's, that's Jenny's father's retirement stay or something, but the man passed on before that, so like she was just left with it all in her. She was like, let them just have it. Yeah. Jenny announced it to the family that, oh, grandma has given us the cottage, it's now ours, and all of them were like excited. Oh, we can have parties there, we can do this, and she quickly shut it down from the boys. But like then Naomi came to meet her that, oh, I want to have a party with my castmates, we just want to chill after working. And Jenny was like, okay. All these things she allowed her daughter to do was just a way of trying to like bridge this gap I already talked about, trying to connect with her daughter by, showing her that she's harmless, and she's always there for her. But like it didn't read that way to Naomi, because Naomi was not seeing it after the disappearance. Like when the police went to search the cottage, was that there was no party there, but there were wine bottles there and there was stains of blood on the bed, which made Ted and Jenny freak out completely. The way Ted concluded it was like, oh, maybe she was raped or something. And then Jenny was saying, what if it was not rape? What if it was her first time? What if she was just a virgin? And that happens. Like, how is the blood? It's not like excessive bleeding, yeah? Because she was not there. Ted had followed the detective like to take them to the cottage, so he saw the blood, and yeah, it could have looked like, breaking the hymen kind of stains on the bed. They are both professionals and blah blah blah. This part is important because there we get to meet James. Who is James? James comes forward to meet the detective Michael. He's in tears. He stays up for investigation, thorough investigation, and it's like he loves Naomi so much he can't keep it anymore. They bring him back to the house to talk to Naomi's mom, Jenny, and Jenny like sits him down like, okay, what is going on? He starts to confess that he has always been in a relationship with Naomi. Nobody had any clue. Like her parents, they didn't have any clue. And then he says things like, oh, they are sexually active, and even at that point Naomi was 10 weeks pregnant, which just blew their head off. Like it blew the theory of it being Naomi's first time. It blew the theory of it being a rape case or something. James explained that because Naomi was on the pill too, which is what Jenny could not comprehend, because she was like, when did she start taking the pill? She's just like 14, 15. Like, who taught her how to take the pill? Like, what? How did she, like, this type of information she's supposed to, share with the first time with her daughter or something? Her daughter is supposed to come to her with, for this kind of connection or information. Michael is there to like be like, okay, calm down, to Jenny, because all the things is just in her head, but you can see she's visibly panicking. And James is just distraught. He's in tears. He's like I love Naomi. I didn't care what she wanted to do with the baby. I would have followed, supported her decision either ways. And then it was like, what did Naomi decide to do? She said she decided to abort it, but she didn't have any clinic she could go to. So she read somewhere where in the early stages of pregnancy, if you have sex a lot, it could endanger the baby. You could miscarry. And that's what they were doing at the cottage, yeah. They did it to incite a miscarriage. With their own background in medicine and everything, Jenny knew that that blood was not enough of a sign that the baby had been affected. Like, it was just spotting that was typical for pregnancy. But they didn't know any better. And he said that having issues with Naomi when she started showing interest in another man, an older guy. And she didn't know who the guy was, but he knew there was an older guy. And nobody had met this guy. So it made their relationship distant, and that was all the information James had to offer. Then 1 year later at the cottage, yeah, Jenny is closed off from the world, although she has a neighbor named Mary who has a grandson called Dan. Eventually, she and Mary connect, in the event of a medical issue that Mary had, which she helped out with. And then they were connected, and then Dan came around, started helping out at the house, helping her cut down trees that storms had broken down, repair the fence, chopping logs of wood for winter and all of that. So that was like the small connection that Jenny had. Another important factor, one day in Ed's room, Jenny, she enters the Ed's room, to take off his shoes when he's sleeping and cover him, and then she sees a wad of cash on the table. The amount of cash there is exorbitant. It's not something that is typical for the allowance, which she knows Ted handles, and he does it through online transfer. So like, where did the cash come from? So she asked Ted, and she's like, Ted, you should not be giving these children this amount of cash. It's just like too much, and it's like, what do you mean? I used to arrange it through online. So like, the money didn't come from Ted. So the next day, Ed's all, why are you going through my things? Don't go through my things, blah blah blah. Then the Theo aspect, Theo is who Jenny likes. I wouldn't say she likes him, but it's obvious she likes him because he's easy, he's vibrant, he's a very happy-go-lucky, his energy is always high. He gives us this appearance of not having any secret, but like, all of that could be a facade, because then 1 year later we see that Theo is introducing a man to his mother, Jenny, and she's taking her back. On the phone, he was telling her that he's bringing Sam. That's the name of his partner. And she was like taking her back, like, how did I not know that he was this? Like, what? But like, the weight of Naomi's disappearance has, affected her rational thinking. So she doesn't even have the ability to spend emotion being homophobic, or being skeptical about the whole thing. So like, she just welcomes Sam and all that. So like, the thing about Theo being gay is important, because at first I was suspecting Theo because of the things that came out, in the sense that Theo is an artist. You get, when he was in secondary school, that year that Naomi disappeared, it was like their final year in school. You get, and they were preparing for GSC or something like. Theo was supposed to give an art exhibition for a scholarship or whatever. He used Naomi as the subject. Naomi would slowly take off, like Theo would take pictures of her as, she loses one item of clothing, and he would make it like a series until finally she was like naked all the way. But like, the way the picture was, is like she was obscured by tree and branches, and you could see her chest and all of that. And when Ted saw the portrait, he was very furious. He was like, what is all this? Is taking advantage of this girl, she's young, she's all of that. Jenny was, that was before the disappearance, actually, that this conversation happened. What do you mean by that? Like, it's Theo is her brother, and her friend was there, Nikita was there, and then she was wearing underwear, or she was hidden by the trees. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, you get. But when the police was searching through the children's things at the house after the disappearance, immediately they saw that picture, they like raised an alarm. They were like, okay, this is a sign of something inappropriate going on here, you get. Which Jenny spot, she didn't allow them to pursue that line of reasoning. She was like, hey, this is something that blah 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 blah. And eventually they had to let go, because Nobody's there to speak for like Naomi cannot speak for herself in that case if it was okay. But like if all the family is saying there was nothing wrong with it, then the police cannot pursue because there's no actual physical evidence. So me later reading that Theo was gay kind of made me put that suspicion to the side. Like, okay, he's gay, but like I don't know, and I would just say like somebody being gay, absolve them of the possibility of committing harm to a child. Like I can't really just put, but that kind of put it to rest a bit for me. And then Ted's reaction to all of that was kind of, I don't know, bothering me like somehow. I don't know why. Actually, Ted is the biggest red flag to me. The way he defended himself after um he was caught out. Like he didn't know that his wife had found out that he wasn't at the hospital that night. But like the way he started his own defense, it just felt like he was used to just lying his way through things, and the family doesn't check him for it. Then what does Ed mean by when you are painting, nobody can come and interrupt you? Like what if there was something like an emergency that was going on, like in the period where she was in her studio upstairs in the attic painting and nobody could disturb her, and the children were at the mercy of the only adult in the house, Ted. And like what if something happened there, they could never report or tell their mom, they could never go to her in that moment. Like I don't know, the family seems fucking weird, you get. But that's why I want to make it a vlog, so I will finish it in this moment. Like I just have to finish the story. I'm sick of the way the narration is jumping like timelines, and I'm sick of the way there's something underneath the surface that everybody is not paying attention to, including me. I can't see what is going on here. Then there's another important aspect too to note. They have a neighbor like back in the town. This is before like where the family lived before Naomi's disappearance. They had a neighbor, an old woman. She had a son who has Down syndrome, and the boy, his name is Harold. So Harold's always at the window quietly watching everything go by. Harold does not go to school, he's just at home all day, being taken care of by his mom, and they don't interact with the Malcolms. That's Naomi, like Jenny and Ted's family. That's the son name, the Malcolm. So the time of this disappearance, Jenny has this idea that since Harold is always at the window, maybe he saw something, yeah, like it just has to be something. Anyways, they go to question, met with resistance by his mom. Either way, Harold cooperates with them in his own way, yeah. He ends up sketching a picture of a blue van, and he's like, he brings the picture to them, to Jenny's house. He brings it to them, he shows them the picture, and then he's holding the poster of Naomi's missing flyer. Like, so like I feel like Harold knows something, but like the picture is not complete because Harold is non-verbal, you get. So like it's just a lot of pieces that scattered all over the place. We have all the pieces, but like I don't know, I'm still in page 250. Maybe by 300 I'll have something. That's where I'm at, and hopefully people have not skipped off this video. I'm about to continue with, let's just continue. So I don't think I expanded on what I wanted to say about like Jane's background, because something just came up to like remind me of that train of thought. Yes, I said Jean grew up, wanting to be different from her mother. So obviously, like she was an overachiever, and something about overachievers is that they are perfectionists, And also something that Jenny keeps narrating throughout is how she knows her daughter, she knows Naomi, despite narrating like interactions with this said daughter that show that people don't have anything in common and people barely talk. She still kept insisting that she knew her daughter, that her daughter was precious, and her daughter was a good girl basically. Even one time her sister was like addressing her, when they met, like, oh, but Naomi, she's a teenager, and teenager get into all sorts of trouble, and she was like, no, not my Naomi cannot do that, you get. Remember the money thing I was talking about, Ed having a whole wad of cash? Well, he told his mother that it was for a rowing gala that they were having at school because he's on the rowing team, and she believed it. A few days later, she went to work, and as she was treating somebody, she opened her like doctor's bag, and she found a few vials of morphine and some other drugs missing. Something about like being a professional, like a doctor, you have to know the kind of drugs you're carrying and what you have on you at the time of, to keep records of drugs and all of that thing. Yeah, it's strict for them, I guess. She goes home, determined to like put it in at the back of her mind that maybe she forgot to refill the vials, maybe she forgot to take them from the pharmacy, all of those things. That she'll just talk to her boss and she'll get it straightened out. Then she goes to Ed rooms again to clean. After he told her not to clean, she sees rounding equipment, yeah, on the floor, and she feels like, oh, he has forgotten it, that today is gala. Calls the school and she's like, oh, today is the gala, yeah, the round gala. Ed forgot his equipment. Is it okay for me to bring it round or something? They're like, Mrs. Malcolm, like it's not the semester. So like I was talking to her, she was not like, it's Dr. Malcolm, not Mrs. Malcolm. And they're like, okay, I beg your pardon. So like that will tell you how Jenny sees herself, yeah. Being a doctor, not just a Mrs. a wife, how she feels towards your identity of being a wife, basically. Not wanting to search through Ed's drawers, but like a whole bunch of clothes spilling out from it and they all smell dirty. So trying to like remove the dirty ones, to take it to the wash, and then she saw the vials of the drugs she was missing in her bag. And the narration goes to 1 year after, and Ted is around. He didn't come for the Christmas break they agreed to come, but he came later towards the new year, and then he's having a fever. He has this delirious moment where he's like, oh, Naomi, I'm so sorry, I should have done better, I should have helped you, she warned me, I'm so sorry. Yeah, and he's like, the way he's talking, it seems rooted in reality, not just the delirium of his fever. Jenny presses it, yeah, she presses him when he's now like stable and more conscious after the drugs have worked on him. He tries to deflect, he lets it be. And when they're having lunch or dinner, I think, he now asks him, and then he comes forward with the fact that, well, the thing is that Naomi was using drugs. Like at 14, I'll be 15, using drugs. My own personal reaction, that's my personal reaction. Got access to the drugs, when she started working as an intern for her father's, I think it was the summer thing to pad her CV or something. It was like a lab assistant, so she was trying of recording the drugs, the vial of drugs. She was trying of knowing and refilling prescriptions that they were going to use in the lab for the lab tests and all of that research. One day the father Ted, he said at first when he notices some missing files, she lies to him that, oh, it broke, and she shows him the glasses. He's narrating this to Jenny now, and then the next time he caught her was that he saw a bag left behind in the lab, and he went to look at it, but he didn't know who the owner was. Then he saw her wallet and 3 vials of ketamine, like wrapped in paper, in her bag, and then he took it home. He didn't confront her, he just left on the table, like he removed the drawer. When she saw it, then later when she came to work that day, I'm saying all this thing because there's somewhere I'm getting to. She was like crying, begging her father not to tell her mother, that it's just like after that day, like she tried weed once at the party, and then they were asking her, since her parents are doctors, like she should have access to drugs like that, and she could like get some for them, that she wanted to give it to them, and all that. Jenny's reaction to this is interesting. I feel like I should read it. Why didn't she come to me after that? I am confused. I thought Naomi had told me everything back then, everything important. And Ted is saying, I suggested she should, but she said you wouldn't believe her at first, and then you would have been disappointed, and how that would be worse than being angry. She said you expected perfection, not just from yourself, but everyone as well. You didn't allow people to be who they were. She felt you didn't know her. Jenny describes herself as feeling breathless. She says, that's not true. I knew her better than anyone, which is like hitting my head on the wall. Like, bro, this is literal evidence that you are a stranger to your daughter. Like, your daughter is a stranger to you. Like, why are you still holding on to this idea that you know this girl, like, you know this kid? But like I don't know, I kind of get her point, where she has been living on this illusion all this time, and like being forced to face the illusion, like we saw in the last diary. Being forced to face like the truth of your illusion is something that takes a lot of mental fortitude. So like, let's not hold it against her. Let's just continue reading. Yeah. So I had a little nap, got something to eat, and I'm back at my book. When I started reading it in earnest, I started watching Courage the Cowardly Dog. yes, episode. I even made a little doodle of him. You know something about courage, eh? His imagination is so wild. I think the ones they used to show on Cartoon Network then were very made for family, because the episodes, like the things he imagines, like in these episodes I'm watching, yeah, scary. Like the mind of somebody that has really horrible intrusive thoughts. Like most, like obviously intrusive thoughts are horrible, but like when you see it like on Cartoon Network, you think it's something just, it's not that deep, like, you know. And then there's another thing you have to consider about courage. When Corey talks to the computer in his, when he talks to like the doctor too, talks to everybody else on the show, like he interacts with other people on the show, even the monsters on the show, they understand him. But Eustace and Muriel, especially Muriel, they don't understand a word of what he says. And those other characters on the show, they are all like, they are humans too, they get like, they speak English, I don't know. But like the monsters, obviously the monsters, the Eustace and Mira understand the monsters like language, speaking to them. They even entertain them in their home. They know what they are like. They get to know what their motives are for them. But like everybody on the show understands Courage's babbling. You get Courage's yapping. But Eustace and Muriel don't get it. Anyway, look at my doodle of Courage the Cowardly Dog. This was on page 179. I was just so happy, you know. I woke up in the morning, it was like the first thing I watched, and I was like, the things I do for love. Oh, it's not clear. Maybe that's what I put on the thumbnail. The things I do for love. I like Courage's anatomy. He has this big pouchy middle or torso and this very large head, but his hands are so tiny, his legs are so tiny. Should I say hand? His paws. His paws and the bones of his legs and arms are so tiny. And with those legs and arms, he's able to do like extraordinary things. Like now, when the I've got to episode 20 something, 25, you know, and the things I've seen so far, I realized that Courage is an extraordinary dog. You get. Should I make a video talking about Courage the Cowardly Dog and the episodes I really enjoy? I think I will. Okay, let's go back to Daughter. Yeah, let's see if we can complete it today. My quest stop. Okay, so I'm on page 313. Oh, and they found Harold's blue van, the van that Harold described for the police. They found it outside somewhere in the woods, you know, somewhere deep in the woods. I was burnt to a crisp. Like there was no plate number. All the chairs were like removed from, like it was only the springs left and it was burnt, you get. So Harold was onto something. There's also this character Yoska Jones, and I think it's important to mention now that like any case, you know, of a missing child, they will definitely go through her things, you know. So Naomi had a diary and she wrote things encoded, like she wrote things never in full. Her pregnancy, she just wrote 10 weeks. She wrote the ketamine, she wrote K. I'm only saying it now because like I've read it here, but then when Jenny was reading it, she didn't get what that was about. And then there was this three letter thing she put all over her diary, XYZ, XYZ. Now that Ted has like confessed to Jenny Naomi's drug issue, like where she was taking drugs to sell, they both believe that she was selling it to somebody, you get. And that's how drug you cannot find on the street. So for her to have access to it, I'm sure she would have like well-paying clients. Yeah, Michael has been called in, you know, and he has been giving this information. So now the people that use ketamine, like they are the criminals that use ketamine or they have been arrested for ketamine before, and the dealers that the police is aware of, he brought in like a list of those names, and then he asked both of them to go through it, that's Ted and Jenny, see any name that sticks out. Then they get a very big list of the people that operate nationwide, and she sees a name immediately, and his name is Yoska Jones. So Oscar Jones is familiar. It still stands out to her because a few months before, like really when the story started, yeah, she had a patient that came in for back pains, and he has back pain and runs in the family. Where he was like receiving his own like consultation, he was not behaving like an actual patient. You know, he came as if he wanted to say something to her, but she didn't know him from Adam. Like he was just like a random patient. Yeah. She was like, okay, what does he do to, you know, that he thinks contributes to his back pain? And he's like, he has a little sister, and this little sister, he used to carry her on his shoulders everywhere, you get, but nowadays she's getting heavier, and now it's affecting his back. As a doctor, she just did her job, and then she prescribed him like drugs. This was something she had to really pick her memory for. That conversation, she wrote it down for Michael, and he was like, this is helpful, and he took it to, police it or something. But anyways, Oscar Jones, the why, because the way she wrote it was, Naomi would write XYZ and put little hearts around Y. So now she can like piece it together that Y is actually Oscar Jones. And obviously, like Michael said, it's not a real name, just an alias. It's on their list, and they're checking. And my head is beginning to think like, wait though, is this girl now going to be caught up? Is the issue now, is she going to be caught up in like a nationwide like drug ring? And she's just a little girl, you get. How much drug did she take for her to get like so much attention from such a big dog, but she had little heart around. So did she have a relationship with the guy, you get? So like, I'm not like, okay, it's not more family now, it's like real stranger danger, yeah. Problem in the family is real, yeah, but like consider that drugs and all of that. Oh, Ed also ended up going to rehab. He had to drop out of school to go to rehab because his own, he was taking the, let me look for the name of the drug for you. The drug that Ed was selling was pethidine and temazepam. He was stealing it from his mom's doctor's bag to sell for ketamine. Meanwhile, Naomi had access to ketamine and she was just selling it directly. So maybe that is why Ed and Naomi have a lot of secrets between them, and why why Ed would not easily like open up, the whole thing that was going on. Ed was sent to rehab, and Ed has a thing where he's like, he confronts his mom like, oh, your perfect son Theo. So it seems like Ed is the child that gets lost under the radar of their mom Jenny. Like he's the one that doesn't draw attention to himself, that children like that. Naomi is all golden girl, like she's there, her mom feels close to her. Naomi tells me everything. Naomi is my good little girl. And then Theo is perfect. He does everything well. He's bright, he's energetic, and all of that. But Ed is like just in the middle. You get. So it's probably why she didn't notice until he started bringing out pus from his hands, and there were so many crisscross of, him trying to find his vein for intravenous drug infusion. You know, like she didn't find it out early, you get. It was only during this commotion that she now had to, like, her focus was forced onto Ed, and she knew, you get. So it's like, I don't want to put the blame on anybody. I'm just saying that sometimes when parents, like, they get, some children get lost under their radar, you get, because they are so obsessed with the children that are easy to deal with, the children that don't require them to pay closer attention to them, children that look like, oh, I got everything on hand. Because at the end of the day, all three of our children are not getting any sort of real attention from her. The home is not getting, Theo is not really getting, because he's easy. She just thinks of him and she's happy. She doesn't know what she did. When he came out as gay to her, she was shocked. But Ed is seeing it as she's paying attention to two of them. Naomi is seeing it as she just expects perfection from her. And Theo, I've not really gotten into, there's not really been any introspection into Theo, because I don't know, maybe she doesn't notice this. Like I said, the only children she notices now is Naomi because of the kidnapping, and Ed because of the drug thing. But Theo, there's nothing about Theo in her narration. So let's keep going. Wow. Wow. So I'm getting the feeling that this must have been a hatchet job. There's information that Oscar Jones, not his real name, not his real surname, but like he's a family of the Romanis. Ted has had an issue where he, like, I think it was a bit of medical, like it was not ruled as malpractice here, but he did something wrong in the surgery of a little girl that cost her her spine. And so now that Michael has found the picture of Yoska and showing it to Jenny, she recognizes him immediately, that he's the one that came to her practice that day. And Michael said he has seen him before. that he was part of a group of people that caused like a fracas in the hospital where Ted worked at, and it was something about a surgery on a little girl in their family. Wow. This thing that happened with Ted, this surgery that went wrong with Ted, was a really big deal, and he managed to like come out of it unscathed, like he was still practicing. You get so like I didn't pay attention to it because it was just there in their conversations. Like they'll just talk about, oh, it was this period when that thing happened in the hospital, and I thought maybe it was just like one of those things, that some doctors have where they have like really bad operations or operations gone wrong, and the family takes them to court. There's a lot of angry back and forth between the hospital and the family, but like Ted made it out. Ah, okay, let's just continue. As you can see, it's gotten really dark and I have like house chores to do. So I'm going to stop at page 333. Should I let you in on what we have found out so far? But like it's so dark. I don't know if it would be cool or maybe I should just wait till tomorrow. But like there's been a major breakthrough. The skeleton of the whole plot has come together. So I said I wanted to do chores, yeah. So I have to like take out the clothes from the washing machine and dry it, and then I have to wash plates. But I'm washing plates first, and as you can see, there's no light, and my light source is this like touch light. So anyway, I'm like almost done washing plates. I just have to rinse it now. I already think I'm so got of the courage that I keep thinking of the little yes anytime he manages to do something like acquire a weapon that will help him defeat the aliens or the evil monster that can take Muriel and Eustace away. So like I'm done with watching it and I'm like, time to pack my laundry. You get in there and make it about courage. I think the best time to do laundry is the best time to do laundry because that's how you go up and down with make it sweat. Just make it sweat. I'm always happy. Just you don't stress, but I don't tell you, you just everybody's machine. Like, you know how horrible it has been to and wash clothes. I'm always everybody's machine. Yeah, hey, yeah, I'm always happy in machine and the dryer. Yeah, that's where I'm heading to next. So I'm right. One of my favorite things to do, just taking in wafts of the detergent scent, from the washed clothes. It's so comforting. It feels so immersive, like wow, my clothes are clean. So like now it's done, yeah. So I just have to like freshen up and prepare for bed. That's all. Like in my day, it's so interesting, yeah. That YouTube is, this global place. This global melting pots of all sort of nationalities or whatever. But like, have you seen a reading vlog where somebody is in an area where there's no electricity? Well, now you have dark and all of that, but not for long. Hopefully, surely not for long. Agent that I used is clean, as in clean, 2 times active, 2x active. It smells so freaking good. Clean. Send me an email, yeah. I will promote your product so good. I love it. This is not even, I love it so much. Okay. No joking. And I was like, to the next day. Hello. So I had a good night's sleep. Yeah, I was just thinking through the night. Yeah, you know, in places that there are no lights. It's not really like your bulb. Even though I used to enjoy reading with like lanterns and torches. So like now using torch to read is just like not worth it. It's so stressful. So I was just looking forward to the sun coming up and all of that. Yeah. So yeah. I guess that's all for the morning intro. Like, yay. Okay, so like I said yesterday, I was in page 333. I mentioned about the whole motive coming to life about the situation. So just to give you a quick rundown of what it looks like. Oscar Jones, like I mentioned, his family are Romanis, yeah, and they had a little girl who had a hunchback. The procedure was supposed to be simple, like they went to Ted, the hospital where Ted works at, is a teaching hospital. People were like, oh yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I think the point is that they could correct her spinal like disfiguration, like instead of it to be so hunched, like she would it would they'll just correct it, it will no longer be hunched, in the way it was. It was like supposed to be a very simple procedure, yeah. And they like Ted mentions that they told the family that they would have to sign a form where in case anything goes wrong, they have to understand that the procedure still has risk. As straightforward as it seemed, it had risk, and the risk was that she could be paralyzed. Now her spine is disfigured, yet she's walking around, and like with little help. But like after the procedure, she could end up being completely immobile, paralyzed. And so Oscar Jones is the head of the family. He's not like her father, but like everybody defers to him. He has all the power. You get, but like this little girl is loved. And Ted was supposed to be in charge of the operation, but his colleague, who was still in training, asked him to like, allow him to be in charge of the operation. So like Ted kept repeating to Michael and to Jenny that it's a teaching hospital. I'm supposed to give my colleagues, a chance to learn. But apparently during the operation, is this medical like terms here, which is basically jargon to layman, to a lay person. But like the spine, the pressure dropped, and the spine tissue did not receive blood flow like immediately, and then it ended up being paralyzed. Okay. And they went through the whole, because I think they record the operation and all like that. So they went through the whole operation, like the whole procedure of what happened in the operating room, and they found out that, well, it was unavoidable. Yeah, like it was not like it was unavoidable like that, but it seemed like Max, that's the name of the colleague that was in training that Ted allowed. Max inexperience, caused it basically. If it was someone that experienced as Ted, which they thought she was going to be under, Ted was the one that gave them diagnosis. Ted was the one that did the consultation and everything. And Ted was the one that's supposed to do the operation according to the family's knowledge. But then he gave it to his colleague. Why? You get, like, why did he do that? That's where my own stuff is coming from. But he was just defensive, like, oh no, everybody has to train, everybody has to receive training. It's a teaching hospital, it's a training hospital. So but the family did not take it well at all, because now she's paralyzed. It was not supposed to go like this. They're a family of travelers, yeah, and they go everywhere. Like, do you know how very, like, aside from the inconvenience, the sadness that would plague the family, knowing that their child is like, paralyzed and needs help everywhere she went, despite her not being like that just a few moments before. So the family, that's Oscar Jones and these people, they took it really bad. They came to the hospital, they threw things around. No, I kept saying that he probably he didn't go to court though. He didn't go to court because by the time they filled all the legalities and procedures, and the way the legalities like were filled and processed, there was no medical negligence. You get, the doctors did not say anything, Ted did not say anything, Mark did not say anything, and so there was no medical negligence. So you could not even get to court. I don't know if this makes sense. You could not get to court. But like, it's also interesting because Jenny was like, did you apologize to the family, for what happened to their kid? And he was like, are you a novice? That's what Ted was like, are you a novice? Like, if once you apologize, that's admitting guilt. And it's like, it doesn't mean, like, I reading this book has filled me so much frustration for Ted, for Jenny, and the frustration feels so impotent, because it's like, how do I shake this? The writer does not do anything like on the characters. Yeah, like the character does not impose their own will on the characters, in the sense that these characters are living in their own world really, and there's no form of the writing that shows you that this person is like being lashed. You get, Jenny does not know how to like properly lash Ted. She's just like overwhelmed. That one is just like, okay, so now what does this mean for Naomi? You get, and it's like, true, that's blood. What does this mean for Naomi? So now we know, I've already established that Naomi and Oscar Jones. Now the interesting thing about that period is because Ted was up in his ass being obsessed with his girlfriend, he kept on insisting that, and Naomi couldn't have known that he was having an affair with Beth at the time. So Beth was in the wards at that period. She was like, I don't know, she's a nurse, and she was like serving him somehow. I don't want to use that. I don't know if it's correct, but like, if it's wrong, I'm sorry. But like, she was like, okay, she was working with him, at the time, and he was convincing Jenny that, oh yeah, Naomi didn't know anything, we didn't really see. But in her heart, Jenny knew that Naomi would immediately grasp the situation, even if it was only one time that they met, according to what Ted fucking says. I don't know why these names are like being stuck in my mouth. Anyways, the issue is now that Yoska Jones, obviously, it wouldn't take a genius to figure out that Naomi was his daughter, like Ted's daughter, because because that period she was doing her, like, padding her CV, internship in the hospital. She also like spoke with the little girl before the operation, like when the girl was like staying there days, like consultation and all of that, for prep and all of that. So like she attended to the girl. She met Yoska Jones, and interestingly, Yoska Jones somehow talked to her because of the way the story unfolds now. Because like Yoska Jones was talking to her, she was talking to him. His name is not his initial is in her diary. So like, yeah, Ted kept insisting that, oh, they didn't meet, and they're like, bro, shut up, you don't know anything. Naomi is already like talking, and then after the whole incident happens, imagine how much guilt Naomi would feel towards this crush, and how she would feel like her father was responsible. She's a child, the way she was even trying to be appear as an adult to Yoska. He would, like, he was leading her on, basically, because he couldn't get anywhere with the law. He couldn't get any justice for his little girl, and so he definitely encouraged Naomi's affections and all of that. Then another interesting thing is that the person Naomi gave those drugs to, I don't think she sold it. The person Naomi gave those drugs to clearly was Yoska Jones, because now the little girl, ketamine, as the story tells me, is an anesthetic drug. Yeah, so like, how are this family of travelers going to have the money to afford the pain relief treatment for their little girl? Like, yet how are they going to like maintain her feeling when they are going from place to place? So of course Naomi wants to pitch in to help, reveals her motive for stealing drugs from the hospital. But interestingly, that at the same time Naomi was stealing drugs, was the same time Ed was using. Ed didn't communicate with Jenny about Naomi. They didn't like notice the timelines, that the period where this girl was selling drugs to this man Yoska, the same period Ed was using. Like, how do we connect this? Like, he was saying it's a coincidence, but like Jenny was like, this is not a coincidence, because eventually Ed said that he was selling morphine and those drugs I mentioned. He was selling it to a man he met in the club, and the man was not giving him money for it, but the man was exchanging ketamine for it. Where was the man getting the ketamine? From Naomi. Who is the man? Yoska Jones. So like, the man, you see that Yoska Jones had a clear motive. He had access to, like, according to what they say, like, his Ted's profile is public, you get, as a doctor. Like, you can just easily find his information about his family, and it's so intentional with the way he even mentioned it, that sometimes he wouldn't even have the drugs to exchange, but the man was still giving ketamine anyway, you get. So like, the man had a clear motive for wanting to destroy their family, especially, and not just destroy the family, he wanted to destroy the children of Ted. So the day where Naomi was kidnapped, or Naomi went missing, that day Beth reported a fire incident in her home. She called Ted, and Ted told her to call the police. So when the police came, Ted was waiting outside her home in his car. He didn't want the police to like see him be with her, that kind of thing, ask him, just so he should not get back to his family. It seems like Yoska Jones was the one that set the place on fire, because Beth calling Ted to come over would effectively, if Ted was busy answering to Beth's emergency call, he of course would not be there to pick up Naomi after her set party. Like they both agreed, family agreed. You can see like who now picked Naomi, from the theater, obviously kidnapped her that day. Yoska Jones created the diversion for the father because he was aware that the father was having an affair. So like, his affair would be more prominent to him than his own kids. He'll be more, not prominent, but like distracting to him. He would prefer to answer Beth than running to just pick up, because he can't pick up Naomi and then go over to Beth's place. His secrets would be out. Like, I don't need to over explain this, maybe people get it. So that was just like the whole thing. It just became so clear. That was the big like review that happened, but it was already like so dark and I could not record it. I could not speak on it. But like, I'm happy that the sun has come out, my light bulb has come out. So this is the story. Like, introduce my haul that I recently got This is my favorite shade of highlighter to use for books. I don't know. I'm obsessed with it. I had one. It was just a marker pen, but it was already running out. So I went to get the highlighter in the shade, and I got this green one. So I just wanted to show you guys. Ooh, and this is like purple post-it note. I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but I just like how the color, the shade is so pretty. Definitely worth it. Yeah, let's continue reading. Um, this is not a simple story. There was a possibility in my heart that Naomi was with them. So like it seemed like Naomi just wanted to be out of the family system that she was in, and Yoska was her way out. Although that was like underneath the surface, she loved Yoska. The story is not simple because after discovering the revenge motive, I was like, okay, the next thing to do is to like find out that okay, maybe Yoska killed her, or maybe she's still with the travelers, the family of Romanis, and maybe she's had a baby, all of those things. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting what happened. But Michael, who is the police officer in charge of the case, expressed a bigoted response to Yoska, calling them this slur and just parroting every fucking stereotype you would associate with people that are a minority. And it felt stupid to me because I was like, is this guy not a fucking South African? Is he not an immigrant in the fucking Britain that is living in, like, where does he get up talking about all of that to say that now that they had triangulated the whole like thing, Yoska to Ed, Yoska to Naomi, Yoska to drugs, so it was all like a revenge plan. Yeah, okay, so she was going, but she was not kidnapped, she went willingly. And the way they really confirmed that Naomi went willingly was that the night before her disappearance, it's just like in Pretty Little Lies where everything was like the night of Alice's disappearance, the night of Alice. Okay, well, the night before Naomi's disappearance, I had sex with him backstage, and he had left his semen all over her dress, and then there was like also little bits of blood in the dress. And this dress, Jenny found it by obsessively following this idea that maybe the police left something behind in the theater. Like, this is 14 months later, yeah, and luckily for her, she found something. She found the dress squished inside the boot, and then she gave it to Michael for DNA proof. So that's how they came about the whole discovery of, because she's a doctor. So she was like, if there's blood during sex, and the woman is pregnant, like, it could also be sign of an infection, that maybe Naomi had an infection before the pregnancy, and all of that. Michael managed to track them down, and before Michael like wanted to go in with his team to like break up the settlement and arrest Yoska, he came to inform Jenny, and he told her that okay, this is what is going to happen. These are our suspicions that we've tracked them down, and this DNA that we found is going to be able to like link him to the disappearance of Naomi. The thing that motivated Jenny actually into looking for that dress, something in this theater, was because there was no real link connecting Yuska to all of them. It was all circumstantial, it was all suspicious, and she was like, any defense attorney could like part their way out of that argument. Like, oh, you people are just making conclusions. All of it coincidences. Like, what could be the linking factor between all these people? So that Jenny, the specimen and Naomi's blood on the dress, all of it just proves that both of them were together the last time, like just before she left or just before she disappeared. And it proves that they are, like, it was a willing action she made. She definitely wanted to go with Yuska. So like Michael is there telling her that okay, when we go there, there's suspicions that somebody saw Naomi, like, not that they saw her by face, but there was a young girl with the travelers, and she had fair hair, blah blah blah. And Jenny was like, okay, so like definitely, so that means she was in love with him, so that was all a move for love. She just loved the guy. And Michael was like, how do you know she loved the guy? Like, this is a crime, that Yoska is a criminal, is a hardened criminal. This is abduction of a minor, kidnapping, rape and all of that. And she's like, well, it's not rape, but he was like, you don't know these people. These people are not like us. And that statement, Jenny starts to question everything she knows about Michael. She starts to see him like the what do you call it, racism that Michael displays towards Yoska is something that shocks Jenny, because Jenny's like, is this how, in her head she was like, is this how you used to police townships in South Africa? And it just made me realize that also I'm thinking of Michael as a black man, but like he could just be a white South African, and there's nobody more annoying in this world than a white South African. Like, it's just so stupid. Their own racism is so disgusting. Like, let's not even get into that conversation yet. Yeah, she didn't care. She was just like, she in her mind, she was just terrified that if they, with Michael leading the head with all this his stereotypes and bigotry and racism, how is he going to like handle the situation delicately, in such a way that Naomi is not hurt or the baby is not hurt, and all of that. Like, either ways, Jenny could not really say anything. She was just overwhelmed with emotions that at least her daughter is alive and they have a baby, and she knows the baby will be a girl and they will meet her and all of that. Jenny personally felt it would take like several days for all of this to happen. It only takes a few hours, because she's woken up like later in the middle of the night and Michael's all, I'm sorry, and then Jenny starts to lose like gravity. She starts to tilt and all that, and then he's there, he's holding her like, I'm so sorry, like we did what we could do, like we wanted to talk to Yoska, but like Yoska came out guns blazing, and she was just like, wait, what happened to Naomi? And Michael was like, well, Naomi has passed on, Naomi's dead. And she was like, okay, the baby's up to 6 months now at least. And like, yeah, the baby died with Naomi. And I'm like, oh my God. The way it happened was that the infection that Jenny predicted actually was, Naomi had an infection, and this infection made her sick after the delivery. It caused complications in the birth. And those people, they don't really believe in hospitals, so like they probably did a home birth and all of that, but there's complications and she was not getting any better, and so she passed. And then the baby too had that infection, and the baby too passed. So like, I was just at that point of like, I have to narrate this because this is a lot. Like, I'm literally almost like 375, yeah, and this is earning 390 something or 390, and like, why? Why? Also, this story, I was talking about how the writer is kind of frustrating. I think she's frustrating in the sense that our focus here is not the adult, our focus is the children. All of this writing has been undercut with themes of parents not paying attention to their children, themes of how neglect can lead to I don't know, a tragedy for children, how parents that are so busy with their lives, and they don't have time for their children, and how parents are like so interested in their own lives that they only see what they want to see when they interact with their children and all of that. And like, that's just what has been the running theme of this book. So like, even when Ted and Jenny are going at it, Jenny and Michael are going at it, like maybe fighting or arguing, and somebody says something extreme or hurtful or wrong, she doesn't even, the author doesn't try to like focus on that moment, be like, hey, take this blow from me, from my own moral perspective, like you deserve this insult for saying this, or you deserve this lashing for saying this thing. That's not her business. Her business is with the children. Like, she's so, all the children in this book are like well fleshed out, as much as a child that doesn't let you into their inner world can be. Like, it's very interesting, and I don't know, it has sort of eased off the frustration I feel with the story, and now I just feel so sad like for Naomi, and I also feel sad for Jenny, because at the end of the day, like, it's not her fault, it's not her fault in that sense. Oh, she caused Naomi to die, she's the reason why Naomi locked out. Like, it's just I don't know, just the society that we're in. Because like, if you want to have to me personally, like, if you have a rich life, already pursuing a career as something as mind like consuming as a medical career, as medicine, or being a doctor, I don't know, having children, 1, 2, 3, it just seems like an extreme sport. Like, you are definitely never going to reach all of them equally, because Ed still maintains that he's the least, loved by his mom, even though his mom feels all sort of apologetic and she doesn't really get why he doesn't let her in. Like, I don't know, I feel like that I know that that's the theme of what, like, this book is based on. And the title of the book is what? Daughter. So, like, I don't know, like, let's just continue reading. Oh yeah, Yoska is dead. He came out of the van like shooting at everybody. Even when they put, according to Michael's narration, which I don't trust, will fire back if you continue, and he continued, and then they shot him in the chest and died immediately. So it's like Michael was like maybe he just wanted to be shot or something. I don't know. A lot of things can happen, like when an untreated fever, is left to persist. Yeah, so like a lot of irreversible things could happen, like with fevers. Like it's better to just go to the hospital immediately, apply first aid, which I don't think they could give her. Yeah, now I'm just realizing that Naomi had blonde hair. I don't know what I've been thinking of in my own head, like when the story began, but like it just unfurled, it just unraveled in the most, I don't know, heartbreaking way, and not in that like cynical, jaded, oh, I expect this to happen to you. It's just like, like a subplot. This is when the movie has the main story and then there's a subplot, and the subplot is like, something so removed from the main story and it's satisfying. But then what if it's like when it's sad, it's very harder it's hitting than the main plot sadness or tragic storyline. I don't know. I don't know. What the you guys? There's been a major twist. Like, so remember how I was like sighing and moping just a few minutes ago? Well, turns out baby girl is not dead, and her baby girl is well and alive. Oh, oh. Okay, how did we get to this point? Her mother, like Jenny, was distraught. Like she needed to know where they buried her. He followed the directions that Michael had given her to find Naomi. And then she went to their little settlement and she finds Naomi there. But like Naomi has shaved her hair, her baby's hair is red. So her name is Caris, and they're giving her a new name. But like they are all preparing to leave after Yuska's death, you get, and it's obvious on her face, like Jenny narrates that or describes that she has been crying, and her baby girl is alive and well in her arms. Oh God. And so they're already moving their things to a different location, because that's been raided by the police and all of that. And Naomi looks at her mom, or Caris looks at her mom in the eyes. And as she's looking at her, Jenny starts to run towards her. But then she slips, in the mud, and but she keeps her face up. She wants to like keep Carrie's face in her view. But Carrie just turns around and backs and enters into the caravan, and they all pack up and they are driving away from her. Jenny keeps running and running, and she hopes that like maybe if she jumps in front of the caravan, they'll stop for her or something. But she doesn't get there on time, and then the thing bypasses her. So she's only able to see Carrie's face through the window, obscured by half of it, obscured by the baby, by her baby. Then the car has gone by. It doesn't stop as it turns onto the road, but it accelerates up the hill and quickly goes out of sight. 15 months later, Caris. It's a Welsh name. I looked it up. It means love. And that, my fellows, is the end of Daughter. Oh my God. Oh my God. Obviously, it was a lie they made up to keep this babe, to keep the police out of, their reach. Ah, fuck. Oh, there's reading group discussion questions. When Naomi goes missing, Jen discovers her daughter is a different person to the one she thought she knew. To what extent is it normal for a child to keep secrets from their parents? When does this cross the line? 2. Do you think that Naomi would have made different decisions if her family had been more honest with one another? 3, do you think any one person was to blame for Naomi's disappearance? 4, the novel raises a lot of questions about working parents. Do you think, see what I was saying, like that was a theme throughout this book. Do you think Naomi's story would have turned out differently if Jenny had not worked full time or perhaps in a less demanding profession? Does one rule apply to women and another to men? Naomi's brothers deal with their grief in very different ways. Why do you think this is? In her desperation to find Naomi, Jenny leaves her old life behind, her sons, her career, her husband, and her house. What do you think the future holds for her now? Can she ever get back to some kind of normal family life? 7. All three children keep secrets but cope with them in different ways. How is the theme of nature versus nurture explored within the novel? 8. How does Jenny differ as a character in the past and present sections of the novel? Oh, so that's why we're seeing like those timelines. Did you find that your feelings changed towards her? Yes, my feelings changed towards her. How did you feel about the ending of the novel? Did you still see Naomi as a victim? Well, there's a conversation. It's too, for this last part, I want to just talk a little bit. Like, it's too complex at this point to, I don't know, to simply put Naomi in victim or not victim box, because first of all, she was a minor, with an older man. He should have known better. You get, but then again, in her situation, I don't know. I think that was the best outcome for her. She was lucky that even though he had nefarious intentions in the beginning, like they fell in love, and she wasn't maimed or hurt or raped. Everything was consensual. But can you consent if you're a minor? No, you can't. So, like, I don't know. I feel like in that situation, there's the overhanging of, the story of, the story, Naomi's context. She's from a family where, I don't know, she's being neglected in a sense, in a way, and she has zero guidance, so she's doing the best, like with the tools she can literally come up with in the moment. When she's pregnant, she doesn't know how to do it. She said, oh, let's just have sex, the baby will go out. When she meets and falls in love with Yuska, she doesn't know how to handle, she doesn't know who to talk to. He's an older man, but she just keeps going, in her naivete, and somehow she ends up carving a new life for herself, a new name for herself. At the end of the day, she was not like, I don't know, she was lucky not to fall into the territory of, harmful men or harmful people, even though he had nefarious purpose. So I don't know that Naomi was a victim, but like in the grand scheme of things, I think she was to an extent victim that later, I don't know, reclaimed her life. That's how I see it. Like, she reclaimed her life. Now she has found a family, a place where, because Jenny narrated also that the travelers, there are people that, unlike other family that had kids in the world, when their little girl was, just being admitted, before the procedure, they hung around her. They didn't leave her side one day. Like, there were always crowd of family around her, unlike the other children in the world that had, working mothers, working fathers, busy parents that had to work to, and it's not so therefore because they have to work to bring money to pay for these bills, you get. So, like, what do we do about the situation? That thing was just a glimpse into how very immersive, very conscious, family values the travelers have, the Romanis have. I'm even thinking of Tommy Shelby, like Peaky Blinders. Like, I think they're a group of, they were, and what's her name? And what's her name is P. What name? Is it Penny or Peggy? The aunt. She was she's a Romani, yeah, and she always made sure that they were raised in family values. Nobody was, an outsider was not allowed in. That's what made Tommy Shelby persist in his, like, horrible life values and all that. But that's not the point. The point is, like, it's just a show of how, like, family is the core of their existence. You get, family is what keeps them going. So, like, they're not going to abandon children for any other purpose. They live off the land. They live, like, all those kind of things. It's too complex to, like, just put it into one box. But, like, then again, Naomi was searching for that. Obviously, she was looking for that. And James, I'm correct, that James is not older than her. James is her mate. He just, like, I don't know. I think that's where I'm at. You guys, this was a journey. I didn't want to finish it off like this. I wanted to actually, like, you know do another outfit change and whatever. But it's okay, we are here. And the video has come to an end. Now, as long as the video is out to start editing, you guys. That will be your thoughts about the story if you would read A Walk by Jane Shimilt. Jane Shimilt. Daughter. Oof. Okay. Thank you for being here. I love you. Bye bye.